It stemmed from a place of radical authenticity.
And what is that? Let's dive into that, because I hear that a word a lot. Be authentic, be genuine, be yourself. But like, to you, what does the word authenticity mean?
I think that it goes hand in hand with courage. Those things that you might think are goofy, or that you have fear about sharing, the true things are the most uncomfortable to talk about a lot of the times.
I didn't want to bring any personality into what I was doing for the longest time. I was like, the most curated content possible. I'm hating everything that I put out. I'm not resonating with anybody.
You feel the resistance on the projects that are the most important. Like if something is really, really important, then there's going to be a lot of resistance to get through that. But the muse rewards you when you show up. I've had a lot of weight on my shoulders throughout my career, but that's how you get strong. And that's how I know that right now, like I'm the best creator I've ever been.
This episode's a long time coming. I got Mike Richy on the show today. Mike is a stellar creator. He's an entrepreneur. He's even a freaking music artist and rapper. And I did get him to rap on the podcast today, which is just fun. We got him to freestyle.
Chilling out in Lehigh in the venue. I don't really know what to do.
It was awesome. In my conversation with Mike today, we talk a lot about storytelling, authenticity, and the creative journey. But more so than just another conversation about any of those things, we dig real deep into some of his personal stories, and mine as well, about overcoming creative challenges, and also about the cost of not putting your work out there, the cost of not making an impact. That's the gold in today's episode. But I'll just shut up and let you get into this thing, because there is so much value from this episode that I couldn't fit in the intro. Here we go. Mike, it's a pleasure to have you on, man. Been wanting to do this for a while. I support totally what you do. I enjoy your product. I enjoy the problem you're solving. I enjoy the customer base you're serving. My first question for you is, what does the word story mean to you?
Yeah, I mean, thanks for having me on. You know, we've known each other for a little while now, I guess coming up on almost a year or so. And story, that's something that I do think about a lot. And I feel like story is the thing that keeps you watching. You know, like it's the thing, it's the thread that's pulling you through the song or the video or the movie that you're watching that's keeping your attention on it. Like the story, I look at it like the thread that connects your whole video. You know, like if you don't have a story, then it's like, I feel like, what am I supposed to pay attention to? Or like there will be so much going on in a video versus like following the story that has the ups and the downs still, but you're able to follow it through, and, you know, in hindsight, the dots connect. But looking forward, like the story is what keeps it interesting. Like when I'm watching a movie and I'm on the edge of my seat, and or like binging a show. It's like, cause I get to the end of one episode and I'm like, I have to find out what happens. So then I jump into the next episode and I keep watching. And it's that story that I think that like keeps you engaged.
It's almost like a recipe of, you have the ingredients, you've got everything you need to put something together, put something really engaging together, the video or photo or podcast, movie, whatever. And the story to me is almost like it's the guidelines. But the nice thing is it's, I guess, not so much a recipe in the fact that it tells you what to do. It's a recipe in the fact that it's the glue that holds everything together. And it's a recipe in the sense that it guides you through as the consumer of that content. It guides you through that content. So what is it that I don't know has led you to believe that?
I mean, a couple mentors, for one. You know, one of my big mentors is a CEO of a storytelling organization called Dear World, and his name is Robert Fogarty, and he's one of the best storytellers I know. And, you know, working with him, seeing how he uses storytelling in his everyday life, in how he builds relationships, in how he leads. You know, I think stories are also one of those things that is how we can help people understand a message. You know, like goated storyteller or a place of stories is the Bible. and Jesus, goated storyteller. He had a way of like telling a very simple story that conveys a very deep and complex message. And also, like, I think good stories, I could communicate a message in varying levels of comprehension with a good story. I could help a child understand a very complex topic, or I could help an older person understand a very complex topic by like relating it with a story, which is like, yeah, when I think of the best storytellers of all time, I've got to think about Jesus,
the parables.
The parables. So yeah, I think stories help us connect. They help us understand. I feel like understanding is a key part of connecting, of like, whether that's selling for a business or making friends or just like with your family or whatever. Like, storytelling can just help you communicate better, help you be a better leader. All my favorite leaders are really great storytellers, and they have a way of like communicating something in few words that has a message that is super impactful.
So, who are some of your inspirations? Like, who do you draw inspiration from?
Oh man, I mean, I am a total fan. Like, so I have so many influences and people that inspire me across different mediums, different verticals. So I guess when it comes to like entrepreneurship, I really look up to Steve Jobs and think he's a phenomenal storyteller, like one of the best entrepreneurial storytellers. I also just like, his authenticity and what Apple stands for, like think different. Like losing Steve Jobs was probably the worst thing that could have happened to Apple, like if he was still alive today, what kind of technology, what would the world look like? And Steve Jobs just had this way of like connecting with a lot of people. When he'd give like a keynote presentation announcing a new iPhone, it feels like he's talking directly to you. Like, it doesn't feel like, oh, I'm in a room and he's talking to everybody. He's not going, "What's up, guys?" He's like talking to you directly.
I like that.
And it's super impactful. So Steve Jobs, definitely one of my storytelling inspirations. Then I guess other storytellers I like, I love to read. I love books. And one of my favorite authors is Ryan Holiday. And the first book I read by him was Ego is the Enemy. Then he has one called Obstacle is the Way that I read during 2020 that was like perfect timing. There's such his books are super short, like easy to read, super digestible, and full of storytelling to help you understand a concept. Instead of him just saying, "Oh, you should do this," he'll tell you the story of Jackie Robinson, and that leads to why you should do something, using a story to support that argument. So it's like when you're reading through his books, you're not just hearing just straight up his opinions, but you're hearing his curated thoughts and stories that he's like researched as he's written the book. So yeah, with writing, I love Ryan Holiday's books, like especially if someone doesn't read a bunch, like they're not super dense or hard to read. And in terms of music,
I was going to say that was my next question, because I know you're huge on music and you're a musician yourself. So yeah,
absolutely. And I mean, my biggest inspiration music wise is Tyler the Creator, who just as a kid, and he's an artist that I love when you're able to grow with an artist, like see their journey. Like when I first got into Tyler, I was like 13 years old or whatever. And he was in this very like rebellious young misfit era with his music. And as a 13, 14-year-old, that attracted me, like how brash he was, like how like silly or out of pocket, a verse or a bar might be. But really it stemmed from a place of like radical authenticity that really like made me like him and like look up to him as a creator. And it's also just not just his music, but like his world building. His festival Camp Flognaw, his brand, like his clothing that he designs, his partnerships with other brands. You know, he's just been an artist that like inspires me boatloads. So shout out Tyler the Creator. I still love him and listen to his music, and it's crazy because like now like his latest album, you know, my little sister is listening to it and she's like 12, whereas his old music my little sister definitely would not be listening to. So seeing him like grow
Isn't that
into
cool?
this person that's now hitting the mainstream, I love to see it. And it's inspiring for me to just see his like how he pivots and adapts throughout his career, which is like he largely credits to his mentors.
I have a couple music artists like that as well. Personally, the first one that I really latched onto and really just was like resonated with was NF.
Yeah.
He and I listened to the first album I listened to his two of his was either Perception or Mansion. I think Let You Down is where I found him. So I found him through like a radio song, and then I went back through all of his old stuff, even clear back to like Moments in 2010, and then to see like Wake Up and NF. There was an album or an EP he had called NF after his stage name, and then Mansion, and all the way through the stuff that he just put out like last year or 2 years ago, Hope. His music really, really resonated with me, and the stuff that he's gone through is a lot deeper and darker than most of the stuff I'll probably deal with in my life. Not saying that I won't have tragedies or whatever, but the way that he expresses himself really inspired me. I wanted to be a rapper for the longest time. I wrote lyrics, I wrote songs, I enjoyed freestyling. I enjoyed just that I enjoyed the concerts, I enjoyed that atmosphere, and I enjoyed the industry. And for the longest time I was like, I'm going to be a rapper. And I still do creative things, and I'm still a huge music lover.
Yeah.
But it is really cool to, like you said, and I think that's the question for us is how can we become somebody that other people want to follow our journey, follow along with our journey. That's my next question for you is, as you've been creating for almost 10 years, you said in our last...
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I've been a lifelong creator, but professionally, my career started in 2016 was the hard start. And even before, like in high school, I did a couple weddings and would do like shoots for friends or whatever. But 2016 was like I got thrown into the fire and my career started.
You're like, I'm doing this.
Yeah.
So what would you say for you makes a creator, music or video, any sort of creator, more, I guess, followable? Is there a better word for that? Like more followable than the others? Is there something that separates those two?
I think authenticity. And
what is that? Let's dive into that, because I hear that a word a lot, and I think it's almost becoming a buzzword on social media in this content that I consume. I hear be authentic, be genuine, be yourself, be raw. But like, to you, what does the word authenticity mean?
I think that it goes hand in hand with courage, because authenticity is, we always, when we go out to be with other people, we go to events, we're thinking about how we're going to be perceived. We think about wanting to be liked or wanting to blend in. And so we're like, oh, I'm going to wear this shirt that has the suns on it because I like it or whatever. Mm-hmm. And there's a balance like between, putting out your best foot forward. But I think the authenticity is like, when I'm out at some bars with some friends and I pull out my fingerboard and like people are like, what is that? Like you have a tech deck, like you're playing with a tech deck. And I'm like, I literally don't care how immature you might think that I look because I'm playing with this toy skateboard, because for me, it's so much deeper. For me, this is, my ability to like express my love for skateboarding without being able to skate all the time. Like I don't have the time or the health to be able to take the spills I used to, but I love skateboarding, and this can scratch that itch. You know, this was my first business that I started, was a fingerboard company, like was slappy fingerboards. And like throughout my journey, since I was a young kid, like I was playing with these tiny skateboards, you know, and now as an adult, I still be playing with this because like it gets me off my phone, you know, even if I'm out with friends, like instead of pulling up my phone when I'm bored for a second, I might just pull this out and just like pop some tricks or whatever. Or
That's
like
awesome.
when I'm working or if I'm listening to something, like I'll just kind of be doing this. And you know, for me, it's just one of those things. Even if you look at this fingerboard, like it's shredded because I use it so much.
You're doing some good ollies on the table, right?
What's cool though is that fingerboards are accessible. Like if a kid wants to start a skateboard company, probably not going to happen. Like to get the materials to be able to sell skateboards. Whereas with fingerboards, when I was a kid, we'd use electrical tape and popsicle sticks and make our own fingerboards. And as I started my fingerboard company years ago, I noticed that, whoa, there's this ecosystem of all these creative DIY brands of these young kids that love fingerboarding. And no matter how weird some people think, there's a tribe of people out there that they love fingerboarding. They are gonna see, wait, Mike fingerboards, that's gonna make them like me more. But we would never have that connection if I was like, it's so goofy to have my fingerboard, I'm not gonna share it.
Yes.
So for
Yes.
me, it's like authenticity is like those things that you might think are goofy or that you have fear about sharing, even those thoughts and ideas you want to talk about. You know, a lot of people don't have the courage to speak their truth because the true things are the most uncomfortable to talk about a lot of the times. Everybody, yeah, we can small talk all day, we can BS back and forth or whatever, but like, where's that real conversation at? And it's because it's extremely scary, like for an artist like NF to open up about his struggles and his tragedies that he's been through. And even for me as an artist, it's like when I first started recording music, you know, I was freestyling, I was being goofy, silly, I'm kind of finding my way, and until I get to the point where I'm like, okay, what kind of subject matter really represents what I'm all about? Like, what kind of lyrics can I write that I can stand on and be like, this is me, like, and I feel confident about it? Because as an artist, I want to be confident about my art. You know, I don't want to be making art that, you know, I don't feel good about. And of course, you have to go through that to get the art that you do feel good about. But I'm like, for me, the music that I've written that hits the most is like when I'm talking about my journey, when I'm talking about like, you know, like entrepreneurship, being a boss, working hard, when I make a reference about my dad beating cancer. Like that is probably the most impactful bar I've ever written, or like subject that I've ever talked about in my music, because you know, it's extremely uncomfortable and scary for me to bring up and to talk about like one of my biggest battles and struggles, like with my family. But how many people out there know somebody that is affected by cancer? Like, one, lots of people have cancer, but even more people have a loved one that has cancer. And I didn't realize how big of a struggle that would be in my life until I found out that my dad had stage 4 cancer. And so for me as a creator, I'm like, it is my duty and my obligation to keep it real, because I don't want to just make content that's filler that gets passively consumed by some random people. I am all about genuine impact and transformation, whether that's my content, my art, Viddy Studio, connecting creators, everything that I build. It's not worth it if it's not actually making a real impact. And so for me, like, that impact is one of the biggest drivers for doing what I do, for chasing my dreams, for not having a job for 10 years, you know, is that I've had those moments that have opened my eyes to like, wait a minute, these aren't just numbers on a screen. Even if you don't have a ton of people listening or watching, really it's that one kid out there that is like about to give up, that is alone, that needs this, that thinks that nobody understands them, that no one knows what they're going through. And if I can help them feel seen and inspire them and inspire courage for them to keep going, that's priceless. You cannot put a dollar sign amount on that.
I love that. I really would love to dive into a couple of those things you said. And the first one is, I mean, for me, I was exactly the same way, and maybe even worse in the fact that I didn't want to bring any personality into what I was doing for the longest time. I was like, perfectly staged shots. I made sure there was nothing in the background, like a poster of my favorite, I don't know, movie or like my video game in the background or something, or a ping pong paddle or like a friggin' Sprite like in the background, like, yeah. Or I like for the longest time, I wanted to just have the most perfect curated content possible, and nobody really told me that I needed to stop that, but I could just tell, and through other creators that were going through the same thing, I was like, dude, why am I trying to be perfect? I'm not resonating with anybody. I'm hating everything that I put out. Nothing is really sticking with anybody. And it was those like just small decisions, but over the course of what I'm doing made a big impact of just talk about what I love a little more. Share all my stories about how much I love Sprite, because literally I'm having at least one or two a day. Just like the tiny things like that. I mean, I didn't even realize you knew that about me until we rolled up to this venue here and we saw a Sprite on a table and you're like, hey, it's your drink. And I'm like, it totally is. But yeah. Unless we share those things, other people can't resonate, and that's like just a dumb, silly thing. But maybe that's what I think. But maybe somebody else is like, dude, like I totally vibe with like, I don't know, Dr. Pepper or something. Like I love that you are not afraid to share about what you love or what you do. And for you personally, like I love the little fingerboard thing. And then also the second thing you said that I just totally did not think about in the way that you presented it until you presented it that way was like almost like the responsibility as a creator.
Yeah.
To I don't know. If you don't, this is what I want to dive into here is like, what is the cost of not doing that? Not for you, but for picture if someone like Eminem, who is another artist I resonate with, or NF, if they were to never write a single thing, if they were to just keep that all bottled up inside and never use that platform as the therapy that they need, if they were to never do that, and they were just to, stay within their own insecurities, how many millions of people, so for you, how many millions of people would not have been affected? How many lives would not have been impacted by that choice to, no, I'm going to stick with this. I'm going to put this out there. I'm going to go through the uncomfortable moments, of creating and doing this with other people and for other people.
Well, I also feel like that impact, it's billions of potential people. It's not just artists. What would the impact be if Steve Jobs didn't have the courage to be an entrepreneur? And also in the time that we live in with the internet, your great grandkids could be listening to this podcast right now because it'll be on the internet. And that, 25, 30 years ago, like what you create is not going to live on forever in that sense. But nowadays, like, just to bring some perspective on the impact, it's like, yes, you could impact millions of strangers. You also impact the people directly around you, your siblings, your parents, your friends, like, and the butterfly effect is crazy. The impact that I could have on Kensington, that Kensington has on his brother, that his brother has, that could go on forever and ever. And so I think it's hard for people to grasp that impact, even as a small creator. Like you put out a video that gets 100 views, 100 people, that is a lot of people to see something that you can speak to, that can like hear your message. And so, yeah, I think, I have so much respect for artists and creators because it takes so much courage to create that level of impact. Like it's not easy. And it's extremely hard, extremely uncomfortable, but it pays off.
What's the cost of not doing that? Whether personally or whether on like a bigger scale of impacting others, what's the cost of not putting yourself out there as an artist or as a creator or as an entrepreneur?
For me, creating and being an artist is a process of self-discovery. Through making my art, I've actually learned a lot about myself. Like I've discovered who I was by facing those fears and by experimenting and by putting myself out there. And so I feel like a world where I didn't pursue my art is a world that never got to find out who I really was. Like if I didn't have the courage to do all these things, I would just be the same old Mike from high school, you know, that I don't know. I probably would have ended up going to college and getting a normal job, and not to hate on those things. Cause
Right,
also like, I
right,
don't think
yeah.
that like it's for everybody. Like my career has been extremely difficult that I would not tell anybody that they should do it. You know what I'm saying?
Unless they feel a calling to do so.
Like unless you feel a bigger driver beyond the money. I've had many like power players offer me 6-figure jobs that I turned down, big opportunities to move to different states that I turned down. And, you know, that's hard to do, especially when you need money. Like the financial aspect of surviving is one of the hardest, of thinking of like, well, if I had a steady and stable job, you know, and was able to just go down my life that way, like, yeah, I've thought about it many times before when I'm extremely down bad, and you have to ask yourself, how bad do you want this? And that's why it's so important to find the thing that's right for you that you do want that bad. I went down many other lanes of trying other things. And when it got down to the point where it's like, how bad do you want it? I really didn't want it bad enough. And until I found where I'm at now, what I'm doing now is like, okay, I want it pretty bad to show how long I've been willing to sacrifice, how much work I'm willing to do for no money, and how much I'm able to put myself in uncomfortable situations. You know, this meetup tonight, I've never hosted events really, or like, you know, public speaking has always been a big challenge for me, and it is a big goal of mine to get better at. Because when I was younger, I was just maybe like 3-4 years old in San Diego as a kid, and my parents, I'd be sitting there playing with toys, and they'd be behind me. They'd be like, Mikey. And I would just not turn around, not respond. And they found out that like it's because I couldn't hear them, and that I was like mostly deaf. You know, I could hear a little bit, but like when they were like, why isn't he like speaking like as much as he should be? Or like when I would talk, I would like kind of say things weird. Like had people be like, what accent do you have? I'm like, I don't have an accent. I'm from the US. And so I eventually like had this surgery, and my hearing was recovered. And because of it, I had to go to like speech classes and learn how to talk. And, you know, even as a kid, you know, getting invited to like speak at church, I get so nervous, overwhelmed. I just start to cry. Like my dad would come and he'd talk to me. He'd be like, you can do this. Like just take some deep breaths, breathe in, breathe out. He'd work me through some breathing, and then I'd go up there and I'd do it anyway. And public speaking has always been a battle for me. But now it's like, not just public speaking, but like now it's like I love to rap. I have a podcast. Like I make YouTube videos. Like I do so much speaking, and I see that as like one of my biggest challenges in life that I've had to overcome, that I'm still on the journey of. You know, like I still want to push the limits and, you know, be comfortable speaking to crowds, and, you know, doing more events and getting hired to go speak somewhere and have people that want to hear what I have to say. So even with Viddy
Yeah.
Studio, like a big part of our mission with Viddy Studio is like to help people speak on camera. Because when we were building our production company, we work with so many people that are never on camera and that struggle because it's hard.
It's a
you
whole
know?
different skill. I've helped lots of like public speakers who talk in public all the time. Sometimes they talk in church, or like they just talk in front of people all the time. And I get in front of a camera in a room with just me and them, like two people, one person besides them in that room, and they're looking at the camera and they're like they can't do it. And for me, I can talk to a camera all day, or I can talk to people in front of the camera all day. But if you put me in front of a crowd, I'm like I'm a little bit the other, like they're a little bit separate skills. So
because with a crowd, you have live feedback. Like if you're speaking to a crowd, you can see, are people responding to it? But when you're doing a video or a podcast, you have no idea if what you're saying is resonating or not. Mm-hmm. So I guess it's pros and cons to both.
Yeah. And for me, that's a good way to look at the crowd side. Because for me, I look at the camera and I don't know, I almost have to carry my own energy and not really rely on other people and what they're saying, because there's nobody there. There's nobody bouncing, my jokes off of if I'm a comedian or whatever. There's nobody to give me feedback besides just the silence in the room. And that's something that I've had to get a little more comfortable with, because it is uncomfortable with like the silence in between takes, or in between sentences, or in between me talking and you talking. Sometimes if I ask you a question and it takes you 20 seconds to think of something to say, that silence is uncomfortable. But I think the best thing you can do to speak on camera, and maybe even speak in crowds as well, is just be a little more comfortable with the silence and be like, okay, this silence is like a vacuum, right? Like it sucks you in. Like that silence right there, it just gets you a little bit more like, okay, what? Say that again. Like I'm listening. I'm here. I'm all in. But I think the worst thing you can do when talking to the camera, I'm like talking to your viewership now. The worst thing you can do when talking to the camera is just never like you talk and you never stop talking.
Yeah.
You just keep going, and I don't. That's me. That's my take. I'm not going to tell you what to do, but no,
facts. You gotta let it breathe.
Yeah, you gotta let it breathe. Exactly.
If you want that fire, you need that oxygen.
Hey, there you go. I like it. I love the analogies you bring.
Let's go.
One thing you said that, well, not you didn't even say it, but one thing that I'd love to just like ask about is, you were talking about all these different life experiences and things you've gone through, and that right there, like I didn't know most of those things about you, but that makes me feel so much more, I don't know, connected to you. Relate. It makes you so much more relatable.
For sure.
And something that one of your creators said at one of your latest creator meetups, I was watching the video, they said every person has a story worth telling. And I think that right there, it's the stuff that makes you that nobody else has. I mean, other people, of course, have had parents with cancer, and other people, like fingerboards or whatever, but it's those things. You are the only person that has all of those tiny little accumulative experiences that have added up to make you. And I don't know, I guess we already touched on it a little bit, but the cost of not sharing that is a world that doesn't know the full you, the full real you. So what would you say is, I guess with everybody has a story to tell, why? Like why should I tell my story?
I think that I agree with that statement, that everybody has a story worth sharing, and I think it stems from everyone has a different perspective. Even someone that I grew up with, spent my whole life with my little brother, we have similar perspectives, so to say, but we still have very different stories, and like everybody has a different perspective. And I think someone's differences that's their superpower. Like if you want to stop competing against all the other creators and like find your lane of one that nobody can compete with you on, is being yourself, And so as soon as you're trying to be somebody else or compete with other creators, try and be like them, you've already lost. You're already starting out in second place. So
I love that.
Versus if you can, if I put out all the goofy, unique aspects of myself and I am able to express myself very authentically online, then there's really no competition. I'm the best at being myself. Nobody stands a chance at being me other than me. People can try, but you're going to fail. Right. And I don't have to try. I just am myself. So it's easier. Like when you're trying to be something you're not, it's actually way more work. It's like so much more that goes into it. Trying to keep up the facade versus like, I know I'm going to show up as Mike today. I'm going to tap in. I'm going to be open and I'm going to put my best foot forward. That's all you can really ask for, And so
if you vibe with that, great.
As long as I do that, then I feel good about what I'm doing. Regardless of how many views a video gets or how many streams or how many people show up at an event or whatever. It's like, all right, did we do our best at promoting this and at organizing it? If so, then I'm going to be completely satisfied with whatever happens tonight.
I love that. I like what you said about people that fake trying to be something else. Like you're just shorting yourself the opportunity of being you more. What is it to you that separates the 1% from the 99%? And I'll specifically go into creators and artists instead of entrepreneurs here.
Yeah.
What's the separates the 1% from the 99% in your mind?
I think, I would still also say like authenticity, but more so I would say like courage. There's this quote that's from the British Special Forces that my dad always said to me growing up. That's who dares wins. Meaning like whoever is taking the risks and has the courage, like that is daring to do something, they're the ones that are going to win. And so I just carry that perspective with me that, there is going to be fear every step of the way. And if anything, I've shifted my perspective that is an indicator of what I should be talking about, or I record a ton of music that most of it never comes out. And I'll listen to it, I'll tweak it for years sometimes. And, so it's the songs that I am like, I don't want my mom to hear this. This is really hard to put out that I'm like, I have to put this out, unfortunately. And for the longest while, I didn't put those songs out. And they just sat on hard drives. And my next album I'm about to drop is my most raw and real, that is stacked with songs that I never thought I'd put out and that push my fear and my courage to the next level. And so for me, the creators that are the top 1%, they're definitely doing things that are scary. They're doing things that are uncomfortable all the time. Like they're not trying to do the easy thing. If anything, they're like, I'm going to try and do the hard thing so I can get it on video and have a more respectful audience, which is another thing for me is like respect is huge. And I want people to like respect me the same way that I respect my favorite creators. And that respect comes from seeing someone genuinely do something that's like impressive or that's like takes courage. I'm like, that builds my respect when I see someone do something that I know is hard. Mr. Beast, I'm gonna say Logan Paul 100,000 times. That's a crazy idea. That's stupid. That's the dumbest idea I've ever heard anybody say. But it worked and it blew up his page.
Right.
And he's a perfect case study of someone that everybody respects and that his videos all get hundreds of millions of views, because I genuinely believe if you want what most people don't have, you have to do the things that most people won't do. Most people fall off when things get hard at a certain point. And the top 1%, actually, I'm going to change my answer right here. The top 1% are the ones that don't give up.
I love that.
They're the ones that don't stop. That's the only thing. Like, no matter what kind of content you're doing, most people are going to stop and are going to give up. And I understand why. You know, I've wanted to give up many times.
Yeah. Just don't give into it.
But I remind myself, okay, but when you push through this extremely difficult challenge, you are now making it farther than most people would make it. Most people normally fall off here. And the fact that, and so it gives me a lot of motivation knowing, all right, I'm working towards being in the top 1%. I'm not the average creator, you know, and that is undeniable. There's proof. You look at my videos and anyone will say like, this is above average. And if that's not what someone is saying, then I'm doing it completely wrong. You know, I thrive on that underdog energy, you know, because I'm like, I'm the biggest underdog there is. I'm extremely underrated, not to sound cocky or anything like that, but it's because I worked to get to this point. And it's the people, it's like, if you didn't put in the work and you're like, oh, I put out 3 videos and why don't I have all these subscribers? I'm like, get in line, buddy, because I have mentors. Shout out to Digital Jeff, one of my biggest creative mentors. He's like a Jedi in the creator world, and I'm like one of his Jedi apprentices. Might be a Sith, but you know, he has like 4-5 kids. He's like in his 40s. He was a teacher in Laredo, Texas, teaching photography, had his own photography studio. Then he starts working with this entrepreneur, Gerard Adams, and directing his series called Leaders Create Leaders. And that is where I met Jeff, is I started working with Gerard as well. And he was like my director. Like we had a small team and he was the leader. And when I first met Jeff, you know, he probably had 4,000 followers, maybe would get a couple hundred likes on his post. And for the whole time working with him, you know, he did not have a very, very big audience, but he put so much work into his content. And it wasn't until 2022 or 2023 that he had a video pop off and his page went from 10,000 followers to 500,000 followers. And if you didn't know Jeff, you'd be like, oh, that's an overnight success. Like, oh, he just popped off. But the real people that know, he's been working for that for decades while providing for a family. Like the amount of courage for someone like Jeff with a family to provide for, to move to New York, to make YouTube videos for an entrepreneur, that is an insane, like I did that without the kids. So to think of doing that move with kids is like mind blowing. And even then, from that point, it was still another 5 years until he got the audience he deserved. So like my perspective on it, and I think this is a quote from Steve Jobs, or I could, but it's like, it tastes all the sweeter when it takes 10 years. Mm-hmm. You know, and that's what I'm looking for, that long-term growth, that long-term success. You know, like I don't just have a 6-month vision or a 1-year vision, or, you know, I've always been looking at the 10-year picture, the 20-year picture. And I think that a lot of creators don't do that. They just look at the short term. They're like, what can I do? They compare themselves because, of course, when you're looking at your For You page or your feed, you're seeing the stuff that's working. And you're thinking that everybody's content works like that. You're like, oh, everybody's getting hundreds of thousands of views because everything I see gets hundreds of thousands of views.
Yeah, because that's the stuff that's worth showing you.
Yeah, but that's not the reality. Is that like it takes so much work to get to the point where your content is, where you're an overnight success.
Mm-hmm. Right. What I had a point that I wanted to touch on, and you like bled into it perfectly. Like you really transitioned into it perfectly. And it's that the only real failure is just not trying. The only real failure is giving up after 2 videos, after 100 subscribers, after whatever. Yeah, I think that, like you said, it hits on our basic, like, you know, struggle, reward, dopamine system as humans, as people. But the harder we have to work something, the more fulfilling it is, the more rewarding it is, the more that we want to keep doing that. And it goes back to, I can't remember if I was talking on this between podcasts or during this one or during the one that we recorded for your show before this. But yeah, my most recent guest said, wouldn't it suck if every time you went out to create something, it was just easy and you created the most perfect, beautiful piece ever?
Yep.
And that was just the reality of it every time. Like how boring, how frustrating, how sad would that be? That like everything is just crystal like perfect. And we want that. We want every shoot to be perfect. We want it to be like pixel perfect every single time. But the real growth comes from the uncertainty, the struggle, the
journey,
the uncomfortable. Yeah, exactly. The journey, being in uncomfortable places and being willing to push through them instead of go around them. Yeah, man, I love it. Was there, we're going to jump back a little bit in your journey here.
Yeah.
Was there a moment you knew you had to be a creative? Was it when you were real young, or was it when you were in high school and you're like, yeah, just tell me, was there a moment when you knew you had to be a creative and give back to people because you felt inspired by someone else? Or tell me when you knew you had to be a creative.
When I knew I had to be a creative, probably wasn't until 2017 or so. Yeah, because I've always been like, yeah, it wasn't even really like a choice. Like I had an uncle, shout out Nate, that was like a photographer and that had a big camera, and that we'd go out like on his like boat, or like we'd be at the beach and he'd take pictures, or he taught me how to ski, and like he'd have a camera. And he was one of my big inspirations that made me want to get into taking photos and making videos. And then it just naturally, I just started to do it and loved it. But when I felt like I really had to do it or like that this was where I needed to be, was when I had someone that followed me approached me in public. And they were like, yo, Mike, I was out with some friends, and this person comes up to me. And, this, I don't know, I don't have like a big brand or anything. Like, this was super shocking. Like, I guess I was associated with someone with a big brand that gave me a lot of exposure. But this kid comes up to me and he's like, yo, Mike, like, you inspired me to move out to New York and to chase my dreams and to do this. And I was like, whoa, I'd never experienced that before, And throughout my career, I've had a handful of those experiences that are just like, okay, this is what I need to be doing. Like, not just making it for myself, but that this is impacting other people out there, and people that I don't even know, that I'll never know the impact it had, because I'll never meet them and they'll never necessarily talk to me. But doesn't mean the impact is any less real just because I don't see it. But like seeing that impact reminds me like the bigger picture. There's more at play here than just making silly little videos for the internet,
Yeah, I love that. So shifting to what you do with Viddy, give me a 2-minute pitch or a 30-second pitch on what Viddy Studio is and who it's for.
For sure, yeah. So Viddy Studio it's like a teleprompter alternative that gives you your talking points one at a time, so that the goal is to pull out your best delivery on camera. So other like AI companies, AI editing tools, they're like, oh, give us your podcast, we're going to make 100 clips out of it or whatever. And for me, that's super like reactive. It's super like let me try and polish a turd. And I feel like that's never a good strategy.
I love that analogy.
Sometimes
dude.
if you're
That's exactly what it is.
Sometimes if you have to, like, you got to do what you got to do. You got to fix it in post. But if I want to grow and if I want to do something great, it's not going to happen on accident. It's going to be extremely intentional. So that goes with my videos, with my business, with everything that I do. And so Viddy really is an intentional approach to creating videos that are jam-packed with value. Like Viddy, it's like a process that you follow, that when you come out on the other side, you're going to have a video that is just really strong and really impactful. And we bring your story and your message to the forefront of our process. So, we try and keep it very simple. You plan out your talking points, and when you record, you'll have Viddy on your phone or your laptop that will just sync up wirelessly with whatever camera you're recording. And instead of a teleprompter where you just read it while you're recording, like, that is another shortcut, versus if you look at the extremes of the best actors, like Tom Cruise, it's because he's practicing his lines, he's reading it, he's delivering multiple takes. So Viddy is designed to be a process to pull out your best, where we want people to do multiple takes until you get a good one. And we want you to focus on one step at a time. Like, don't get too overwhelmed. Production is super overwhelming. But with Viddy, it's like, all right, you got your one line, read it, get ready. Then when you know it, turn to the camera, deliver it with confidence, and you repeat that process through your whole script so that the end result is just the best delivery. You come across very clear and confident, and
it's a huge thing for people.
You got to respect the viewer's time. You know, so many people think that they can just put out something and you know, make it look pretty and it's going to take off. But it's like, I love editing because you're really just showing the people what is most important to them. You know, one of my favorite quotes, Stephen King says, "Writing is human, editing is divine." And he talks about that in terms of like editing, like you're writing like with a book, you know. But like, I think that's so true with creators as well. Like, I'm cooking when I'm in the editing room. Like, when I'm out gathering the vegetables and the raw materials, and then I'm gonna like prep it a little bit. And then when I'm in Premiere Pro is like, I'm cooking right now. Like, I got the stove on, it's hot, and I'm like doing different things like that.
I totally agree. I'm the same way with editing, dude. I enjoy filming. I enjoy shooting, but because I'd rather edit my own stuff because I've shot it and I've planned it to edit. I've shot to edit. I've sometimes scripted, sometimes bullet points. Sometimes I've just got like a general outline and I'm like, okay, when I get to the editing room, I know how I'm going to cut this down. But when I do get there, dude, I'm like in my zone. Like I love how you said you can tell people and show people what's the most important stuff for them to consume, and what's the best stuff out of everything that I said, and out of all the rambles or double takes or 10th takes that I did, what's the best stuff? What is it that made you decide to give back to other creators in that way, to help other creators? So I guess just tell me like how Viddy came to be, but why give back to other creators?
I think it really comes from the people that I can have the biggest impact on are the ones that have been through the most similar experiences to me. And so for me, that's not the dentists, that's not the doctors, like that's the creators. Like, that's where my experience is. And so if there's anybody in the world that I have wisdom on that can help, it's gonna be those creators. And so that's the big reason why I choose creators, because they are the ones like me. You know, they're the ones that I connect with, that I feel like we are similar. We have similar values and aspirations that we're trying to achieve. And I also feel like, you know, I've been blessed in my journey by my mentors, my collaborators, the people that have paid it forward to me when I was getting started. That to now be in somewhat of a position of authority, like 10 years into my career, to be able to help someone and give back is like, feels like my duty. You know, the people that helped me on my journey, they didn't have to help me. They didn't get paid to do it. And they just did it because they cared about me. And now that I'm in a different position where I actually can help someone, I want to help someone. And a big part of it, so I had a video production company called Temple Mill Productions. Started it in 2017, did it full time until 2024. So for 7 years or so. And through that process, we had a range of kinds of projects that we did, you know, and some went really good, some went really bad. You know, as it goes, doing hundreds of shoots for 7 years, you know, some of them are going to go pretty poorly, and you learn lessons that way because you make mistakes and you're like, oh, this is why I need to have a backup audio recording because I didn't have the SD card in my Zoom one time. And like, you learn these lessons through having those failures so that when you do your next project, it's even better. And, you know, I was in this mode of like, okay, I'd gone through this coaching program that was all about learning how to scale your business and how to delegate and build a team and build systems and all this stuff. And so I'm like, okay, I need to build an offer that we can sell. I need to delegate to my team, and was trying to think as an entrepreneur more than a creator. Because when I started, I was not planning on becoming an entrepreneur. There was just demand of people from me working with Gerard that saw my work, that wanted to work with me. And eventually it was like, okay, this demand outweighs, this is a new opportunity. We started our company. And so, we had some of these projects that like went bad because during this time, I oversold a package that should have been way more money for a really low price. That was like a reoccurring retainer. It was like 4 episodes a month for a YouTube series for $6,500 was like our package that we were like, let's sell this. Like, we did Leaders Create Leaders as a YouTube series. So let's sell more YouTube series. And so then I'm like, I get pretty good at it. I get 3 clients that are all $6,500 a month. I'm like, we're scaling. We just hit 20K a month. And then it's like, wait a minute. Just signed up for all of this work that still has to get done. And, some of those projects worked really well. Some of those projects completely just like fell apart and went really bad. Luckily, it didn't get so bad. Like I was able to come out of it and like, things were fine. But something that taught me was it's not worth any amount of money to do a project if I can't make it a success. Because my ability to sleep at night is priceless. And for me to be able to sleep at night, I need to feel confident that I am over delivering on value from what someone is paying me. I don't want, especially if someone is paying thousands of dollars, I don't want someone to pay me 10 grand and be like, we only got $5,000 worth of value out of it. I want someone to pay me 10 grand and I give them $100,000 of value. And they're like working with me over and over again for years to come. And that's how I eventually found my best clients that did eventually do that I over deliver on value. But for me, it's like not worth doing something if it's not going to genuinely work and provide that value. And so all that being said of like, why is it important for me to like impact my audience? And a lot of it just stems from, building my business. Like I don't want to waste anybody's time and I don't want to, hurt people or make their lives any harder than it needs to be. Like I want to be a force of positivity and a force of growth and like someone that is respectable, and you become a respectable individual by doing respectable work, by having values that you stand on, by saying no to projects that don't go with your values, even if there is a lot of money. But it's like, but that doesn't represent me, then I don't care how much money you're going to throw at me. I'm going to say no to it. And so those handful of sour clients, where they're not happy, they're upset with you, nothing puts a fire under me more to like be better than to have an experience where a client is let down. Like that is horrible.
As creatives, I feel like we hit these moments where we almost like our growth stalls a little bit. We all go through those points where it's like, how do I get better? I don't know if I'm doing anything to push the bar to set new boundaries and new limits. What is something that you've done to not just completely get stuck on those plateaus of growth?
Yeah, this is a big one because even like there's plateaus, but also what I've seen in my journey is there's times when you fall off the wagon, so to say, like where you're locked in, you're killing it, you're crushing it. And then something happens, who knows what, and you fall off. And, a lot of people get like discouraged and they get burnt out, and that fall off ends up being the end of their career. But for me, I've always prided myself in my ability to get back up. Like I see that as a skill because I know I'm going to mess up. I'm going to fall over, and I fall over all the time. And this is part of my mentality I take from skateboarding, like growing up skateboarding, I'm always falling constantly. And that's how you learn new tricks. And if you get hurt and you don't get back up, then you stop growing. And so but when you do get back up, sometimes you get back stronger than ever and you push that bar. And so like for me, it's like, don't get too down on yourself for falling off the wagon, and focus on developing the skill of getting back up. And then the other thing too is like, there are lull moments and moments where you don't know if your work is paying off. And really, I think the key is just show up, you know, and don't be too hard on yourself. Like, but you have to show up. Like, that's like the bare minimum. Like, that sounds obvious. Like, but most people just don't show up. And so they don't get it, or they don't show up. And so they don't make music. They don't show up. So they don't start a business because they don't show up. So it's like, just show up every single day. And in one of my favorite books, The War of Art by Stephen Pressfield, he talks about this a little bit. And he talks about this concept of like the muse that is like, that helps inspire you and helps you with your creative work. There's the muse and there's the resistance. The resistance is like what's holding you back. It's like, you know, what's stopping you from doing your creative work. It's like, and you feel the resistance on the projects that are the most important. Like if something is really, really important, then there's going to be a lot of resistance to get through that. But the muse is like what helps you, you know, create. And he says the muse rewards you when you show up. I'm like, that is extremely simple and extremely profound. All you got, and I've seen this so true in my life. And sometimes the muse gives you a little bit of juice. Sometimes she gives you more. Sometimes she gives you a ton. You can't predict how much you're going to get, but you just have to show up every day. Like even when I'm making music, you know, I'll be recording in the studio. I'll be like, okay, I'm feeling kind of done. I'll wrap it up and I'll feel like, okay, I have no idea. Like I'll be writing some verses and I'm like, I don't know what else. I'm just going to stop here. But then every day when I show up, there's always something new. There's always some new inspiration. There's always some thought that pops into your head out of nowhere. There's always some idea that comes out of nowhere. This like, that is the muse rewarding you. And you have to be able to like pay attention to that and tap into it and take advantage of it, because the muse will show up all the time and most people don't act on it. But you got to do your part and you got to show up. And, you know, that's one of my mottos for this year is faith over fear, because, you know, faith is how I combat my fear most of the time, of just like believing in the positive and overcoming the potential doubts and believing in myself to be able to create what I want to create.
Dude, I love that. Wrapping things up here, is there anything you would say to the version of you when you guys launched Viddy Studio V1? Is there anything you'd say to that version of Mike?
I'd say throw it out there. Like, don't wait. We kept it in a vacuum for a long time, and like we're very hesitant to share, or we're thinking, oh, we need we were thinking like 3 or 4 problems ahead before we even hit them. Like in terms of building our product, we'd be like, oh, we need to make sure that if there's 10,000 people on it, that it can handle that much traffic. Well, we didn't have 10,000 people. So what are we doing trying to solve that problem, you know? So if I was talking to myself, I'd be like, bro, DM everybody that in your contacts, give them a link to your roughest version that your version 1 as soon as you can, and hear what they have to say, and yeah, keep building, be fearless. Like, don't be afraid to step to the plate, you know?
Love that.
Like, you are your own leader, and you know, I was starting to become like, I mean, I guess I started my company, was a founder, and I wasn't the CEO of Temple Mill because we didn't really have titles like that. But it was like, bro, you are the boss, act like it. I was not acting like it. Like even up until I became CEO of Viddy Studio. I mean, I guess with Temple Mill, I really did learn how to step to the plate. but I was all over the place. I was selling, I was directing, I was editing, I was freaking doing the whole 9 yards. Whereas with Viddy, I've been able to hone in on my strengths more and officially be like the CEO of this company. And it added a new layer of like how I view my job of like, okay, you're the CEO. What would the CEO do here? What does the CEO act like? Yeah. Does the CEO like go weeks without like sending messages to the team? Like, does the CEO like back down when things are scary? Like, does the CEO go home early? Like, does the CEO sleep in? Like, and just from, I mean, I guess I've been CEO for a little over a year, but it's been extremely transformative just in terms of how I view myself as a leader of like, okay, you've got some responsibility here. It's not just your paycheck that depends on the work that you do every day. Like there's a team that also needs to get paid, and that if you don't do your job, you're letting every single one of them down. So that responsibility, you know, puts weight on your shoulders. And, you know, I've had a lot of weight on my shoulders throughout my career, but that's how you get strong. Yeah. And that's how I know that right now, like I'm the best creator I've ever been. Every single day when I touch my camera, I'm like, I'm making pinnacle work, and I stand on it confidently because I know that I've never been as good as I am today, and I'm not going to be as good as I'll be tomorrow.
Fire, dude. Straight fire.
I'm already rapping.
You ready to freestyle?
I guess. We'll see. Chasing my dreams while I'm building my team. Everybody wants to think it's easy as it seems. Putting in the work every day, doing what I need. I'm not gonna stop. I'm not gonna quit. You can see me at the top, climbing up this mountain cause I love to hike. Hiking every night cause I love the journey. I don't wanna show up in a hurry. I'm living in the moment and I gotta find my focus. And I'm chilling with my cousin over there, Kensington. He's the man and he's doing it every day that he can. Took me on a trip to Korea and Japan. Now we're building our startup, doing it, and we live how we wanna. I don't care if they hate or they talk trash. I'ma keep it clean. I'ma walk back when I'm building my team. It's sweet like ice cream. I don't know what I think. Here we go. Somaloma, Yumaloma, I'm super. Gotta tap into that Eminem rap god vibe. Let's hear another beat. Let's hear another beat.
Okay. I thought that one had more of a drop.
Hey, yeah, it picks up. Chilling with my boy, we'll never give up. Never give up. Listen to the beat when it picks up. Shout out to Jacob driving down from Idaho. You already know when I'm with my bro. Okay, yeah. Got a creator meetup today. Woke up, dropped down, and then I pray that it goes well. That it goes swell. Yeah. Ringing on the bell, and I'm ringing it, doing it well, and I'm bringing it, ayy. I'm about to sell, I'm selling it. How you think I'm doing? Yeah, I'm killing it. Killing it, driving it, and pilling it. In a R8, on a nice date. Got my girl on my side, going to a movie. She's like, you look super groovy. Super groovy like it's 1970. Super groovy like I'm being me. I'm being me, feeling free, gonna let it go. Being me, doing it, you already know. Hey. Shout out to my guy NF. He said it best when he showed up and said, opened up his mouth on the microphone. Showed him what's up, he's the boss like Capone. They don't really know where he came from, but they want to see him at his show and hear him say his truth. Okay, let's hear another beat.
That's good. That's good. Let's see. We done this one?
Oh, okay.
Little electronic vibe.
I'm chilling out in Lehigh in the venue. I don't really know what to do. I'm out here. Got a new tattoo that they like, and they're like, "Young Mike, is that a word on your arm? A bird on a farm?" I'm chilling and I did it. I'm gonna go and get it. Yeah, they say wealth is in the mind. It's wealth I'm trying to find. It's wealth I'm trying to mine. Mining it like it's Minecraft, and I'm finding it, and I don't look back, and I'm doing it, and I spit facts, and I'm keeping it real, telling you how I feel. Yeah, I'm feeling lit, I'm feeling blessed like life is a gift. I'm feeling up next doing it. I'm feeling like Young Mike, I'm the shit. I just said a bad word, censored it. I'm trying to keep it clean. Sometimes it usually gets mad out of pocket. All right.
Just go. Yeah. Just fire.
Don't know anymore when I don't got a fingerboard. That I flip, that I kick flip. All the kids coming up and they're like, it's sick. But the adults don't think so. Dude. I love goofy raps. I actually have a alter ego. I don't know if I'll drop
that's awesome. Those are all the ones I downloaded, dude. I appreciate you coming on, dude.
Hey,
It's been great.
I'll rip it. It's fun. Rapping for me is just fun. You know, like
I enjoy having just a good time doing like goofy stuff though with like creative endeavors. Like we're still making some form of music.
Hey, this definitely. I think this is the first time I rapped on a podcast. So
there's a first for everything, dude. I got you on. I got your freestyle on my podcast.
If you want to hear me actually rap, my music is called Apple Shift Q.
Yes,
and I'm dropping an album pretty soon. But I just finished a project called Mike's Matrix that has 7 albums that have 7 songs each. So at first I was like wanting to make 3 albums that had 7 songs each, like the 777 thing. And then I got through the 3 and I was like, let's keep this going. Let's do 7 songs. So it took 4 years to get all those projects made. And now I'm like in a new era. It was like my reps getting the work in.
That's awesome.
So if y'all want to hear my music where I'm actually rapping, Apple Shift Q,
let's
check it out.
Yeah, just last question. Where can people find you as a video guy? And then, you just said where they can find your music, but where can people find you if they want to connect?
For sure. So probably Instagram is my main platform. That's just at Mike Richy. And then, we're doing our creator meetup tonight. That's called Connecting Creators. So that's just called Connecting Creators on YouTube, where we're going to have our podcast that is featuring Jacob, that the episode will come out. And then we also are at Connecting Creators on Instagram. Between YouTube, Instagram, and then Viddy Studio, my startup is just at Viddy Studio. It's VIDDY Studio on Instagram. You can find us, or YouTube as well. We got some YouTube videos.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Appreciate you coming on, dude.
The show's been great. Lit. Thanks for having me.
You bet, man.